Sup, I'm making my own tarot deck. Each week I pull 3 cards at random, and this week is the Devil, the 8 of Swords, and the Knight of Swords. Let's go. I know this card spread probably looks a little scary, but it's not. And let's talk about it. So the first card we're tackling is the Devil himself. What's up, Satan? This card kind of represents temptation, obsession, addiction, and dependency. Each card has many meanings, and when you're actually like using tarot, you're supposed to use your intuition and like how it hits with you in your own mind. The timing of this card worked out pretty perfectly because I draw the cards randomly on Monday, and Sunday night me and my husband were talking about how we wanted to cut back on our substance use, so that we only like smoke or like drink a little bit on the weekends and we don't do any throughout the weekdays. It's gonna be better for our health and for our mental clarity. So yeah, we were talking about that, and then boom, Monday, Devil. And by smoking, I mean the devil's lettuce. It's legal in my state, so it's allowed. And for the record, like, we don't think we have a problem or anything. By most standards, we use responsibly. Like, we would just like, at night after the baby goes to bed, we'd go in the garage and smoke and then play like Stardew Valley or like Animal Crossing or something, you know, like nothing wild. I think our issue is that it was becoming just like a nightly thing that we would do without even like thinking about it. And if we didn't address it, we could very easily become dependent on it. When you do something every day over and over again, it becomes a habit. And then when something becomes a habit, it becomes harder to break because your brain's like, wait, no, I'm used to doing that thing. I'm on autopilot. So that's why it can feel so hard to stop doing something that you've been doing for a while, even if it's not technically chemically addictive. And I think the problem with what I was doing, for me at least, was that I was training my brain to equate getting high with the relaxation, because every time the baby went to sleep and I could finally relax for the day, I was immediately going out and getting high, and that's not a good habit. I don't like that. So that's why that's a habit I'm currently breaking. Luckily for me, alcohol isn't really a huge problem. Like, I'm very okay with just having like a drink and being done with it. Like, I don't really get drunk very much anymore. I think for me, when I want like and crave like an alcoholic beverage, I think what I really want is just a fancy drink. I want a fun, fancy drink that feels special, because a lot of alcoholic beverages come in like fancy cups or fancy, you know, like there's something fancy about them. They have like interesting flavor profiles. They're not just like sweet. Like, I feel like so many beverages are just like sickly sweet if they're not alcoholic. So like, I think I just need to get into mocktails. And for the record, there definitely have been times, especially when I was younger, where I was using alcohol, especially in a way that was not very healthy. I feel like us humans have been using alcohol to numb our, you know, physical, mental, and spiritual pain for centuries. And now, with the age of the internet, we have ways to numb ourselves that have never existed ever before. It's like a minefield out there. Stay safe, y'all. And like, obviously you can just have fun and like partake in certain things and it's not a problem. You're just being normal, you know, a normal human enjoying life to the fullest in all of its sensations. You know, nothing wrong with that. But there's this like really blurry line you can cross where all of a sudden it's not so fun anymore and you're just doing something because you feel like you have to for whatever reason. In my experience, like, the more incompatible I felt like I was with my current life and situation, the more I had to cope through numbing myself through probably my drugs of choice were video games and alcohol. And buying things. Definitely, and buying things. Throw that in there too. I think deep down I always knew kind of what I wanted to do and what I wanted my life path to be. But I don't know if I was too afraid or I just wasn't confident in my abilities. That's probably it. So instead I just convinced myself that I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I spent, my early 20s, figuring it out. Just like everyone. I think that's an important stage of life. You have no fucking idea what you want, what you're supposed to be doing. So you get a bunch of shitty jobs and you figure out what you don't want to do. Same thing with relationships. You're not exactly sure what kind of relationships work best with you, so you suffer through a couple crappy ones, romantic and platonic, until you kind of figure out what actually, vibes with you. And when you're in an environment that doesn't align with you and surrounded by people that also don't align with you, life can feel really shitty. Life can suck. And that's when we turn to our coping mechanisms, which can become unhealthy dependencies very quickly. The problem is when you're numbing yourself, you're not actually figuring out what the root issue is. Or if you do know what the root issue is, and it's like, well, I hate my job, or I hate blah, 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 or my boyfriend sucks, you're not actually doing anything that addresses any of those problems, unfortunately. Because confronting those issues is hard and scary. And requires a lot of upheaval and change in your life if you actually want to fix your problems. You have to look yourself dead in the mirror and be like, yo, what the fuck? Why am I putting up with this? Why am I letting myself go through this garbage over and over again? You're probably numbing yourself because there is an avalanche of emotional turmoil that is not being addressed and is keep being numbed and pushed down and pushed down. So it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy where like you just have to keep drinking more or smoking more or just like, playing more video games and keep pushing down all of those feelings. The more you avoid them, the harder it is to face them. And I am 100% speaking from experience. I am not a mental health professional. I'm just a citizen. And what I can tell you from experience is that it is worth facing the avalanche tsunami of emotional garbage. I promise. And you don't have to do it all at once. You just start with the most pressing thing first. And you pick up that piece of garbage and you address it. And then, you continue on. What's the point, you may ask? Why would I put myself through all of that? That sounds horrible. And like a lot of fucking work. The reason, my dear, is because behind that tsunami of garbage is the life you actually want to live. The life worth living. Will it still be hard? Yes. Will there still be days that suck? Yes, of course. That's how it is. But you'll be happy to suffer through those days because the good days are awesome and worth every moment. I am currently lucky enough to be genuinely happy, and that is not something I say lightly. I have spent many years being miserable, and it took basically the past year to go through my own tsunami of garbage to finally come to a point where I'm like, life isn't that bad. I'm happy. So to bring it back to the devil card, basically what I've learned is that if you have control over yourself, the devil has no control over you. It's that simple. That temptation or like craving you feel for a certain like activity or whatever that is bad for you, it's just a petty desire. And a desire is just a feeling. And you do not have to act on feelings. You can just ride those bad boys out and say, Not today, Satan. Not today. And on a similar vein to the Devil card, we have the Eight of Swords. This card represents feeling trapped, helpless, restriction, negative thoughts, and limitations. Often in life, the chains that bind us the hardest are invisible. They're all in our head. Sometimes they're passed down through generations and are implanted in our heads at a very, very young age. They can come in the form of identity, where it's like, I'm this kind of person, so I must act this sort of way. A lot of the times, it's other people's expectations for you that become the bars to your cage. The fear of letting people down can be paralyzing a lot of the times. Guilt and shame are a hell of a combo and can keep you trapped for a really long time. Most commonly, I think this card kind of symbolizes the negative self-thoughts that we all have buried in us. Thoughts like, I'm not good enough, or I'm too old, or it's too late, I've missed the boat, you know? Everything's already been done before, so why do I even try? It's basically any thought that keeps you locked away and from doing the things in your heart that you know that you want to be doing. The thing is that we're never going to be perfect. You're never going to be that version of you that can like just do everything effortlessly. That doesn't exist. When you first start something, you're gonna be shitty at it, and that's totally fine and expected and normal and just a part of the process. It has absolutely nothing to do with your value as a human being. A lot of the times, imperfections are the things that make things special and rare. When people collect shit, like the stuff that are like misprints or, you know, like have imperfections in them are the rare ones that cost more money, you know? But for some reason in our own brains, like because we are not perfect at something, we must hide ourselves away and it must never see the light of day. And that could be a sign that you truly care about something, which is a good thing, you know, caring about the work you do or the way you express yourself is not anything to be ashamed of. But a very important thing to learn, especially as a creative person, is that you need to turn down the chatter of everybody else and turn up your own internal voice. There's a voice in you that desperately wants to be heard, imperfections and all. I personally think that people want to hear that kind of stuff. I think it's telling that my current best performing video right now is my video on overcoming perfectionism, because that was a big bar on my cage that stopped me from actually ever achieving anything. But the wonderful thing about the sword suit, going back to the tarot cards, is that they represent air and thoughts. All of these things are just thoughts, and you can train your thoughts and dismantle them. It's very much tied to the tsunami of garbage that I was talking about before with the Devil card. Your negative thoughts do not define you, and oftentimes they're not even true. They're illusions. Your ego is trying to protect itself, because the idea of being bad at something to your ego is worse than never doing it at all. Which is exactly the opposite of what usually your heart wants for you. Your heart just wants to be happy, to do the things that bring you joy, to not care about what everyone else thinks, because what everyone else thinks is infinite. There's like, you're gonna find people who like it, you're gonna find people who hate it. Like, that's just how it is. People come in all sorts of varieties. There are gonna be a lot of people who feel exactly the way you do and vibe with what you're putting out there, and you will have people who like you. You just gotta find those people. And putting yourself out there is scary because, you know, you gotta wade through some people who aren't the right fit for you. But that's fine. They'll find the people for them too. The key is learning how to be true to yourself so that the people who will love you can find you. And last but not least, we have the Knight of Swords. The Knight of Swords symbolizes being decisive, direct, quick-witted, and ambitious. In the classic Rider-Waite tarot, he's moving quickly. He's like sprinting, galloping on his horse. So it symbolizes like swift action. So after we've conquered the devil and freed ourselves from the bars of the cage, now all that's left to do is hit the ground running, baby. And really, that's what I'm doing. You know, I'm at week 4 of this tarot journey, and I've gotten over the beginning slump. I definitely feel like I have the momentum. I've definitely been able to achieve a pace that is doable for me, that is very sustainable, which is great. And I'm able to get a video out every week, which is something that, you know, I've attempted in the past, and I've never been able to do that before. So that's great. My editing software gave me an achievement for making weekly videos for over a month. And I have surpassed 50 subscribers on YouTube, which the YouTube studio, like behind the scenes, also gave me an achievement for. So even though they're small achievements, it's still an achievement. Life is infinitely better when you celebrate the small wins instead of tearing yourself down because you haven't achieved your impossible standard yet. It is a very powerful feeling to have nothing holding you back and to only be focusing on the forward momentum and motion in your life. I've got a lot going on, and before that used to overwhelm me and make it so I would, you know, procrastinate more. But right now, all of the things I want to do, I just really want to get them done, you know? Not only am I working on the tarot deck and the YouTube stuff, you know, I'm also trying to post on other social medias, but they're definitely not a priority at the moment. Just getting this done, and also in my personal life, we're renovating an old farmhouse, which is taking forever. I have an older video on it, and I guessed that we would be done renovating it in February. Ha! We're not even close. We had to gut the whole downstairs. Like, we had to take out like the floor joists, and we're putting flooring back in. And it's just like a whole lot of garbage in there because every time we would tear something down, we realized that there were like 50 more problems that we have to tackle. But it's worth it because as we address the problems and fix them, the house gets more structurally stable, and, you know, we get closer and closer to having a house of our dreams, and that's rad. You know, any bit of hard work is worth it for, you know, the life that you want to live. And I want to say that it would not be possible without my dad for a multitude of reasons. My dad is the original unstoppable force of nature. I have never seen a 50-year-old man be able to do the things my father can do. I'd love to see my dad enter a strongman competition and just see how well he does, because I've seen that man just like carry appliances by himself. It's insane. If you need to see an example of someone becoming successful at things just by through sheer force of will, you need to look no further than my father. And I'd like to think that I can inherit some of his tenacity. Something I've learned is that self-confidence is built over time. You build it by facing adversity over and over again and coming out the other end stronger and with more fight in you. You kind of develop this energy where, like, if life throws a punch at you and it doesn't kill you, you just get back up and be like, oh yeah, is that all you got? And then you keep fucking running forward. Is that all? I got shit to do. I got things I have to get done, you know? My brother-in-law has a tattoo on one of his arms that says, life doesn't get easier, you just get better. And I vibe with that. I like that. Through my spiritual practice with tarot cards, I have become a person who runs head first into adversity. Because I know I'll be able to figure it out and I'll be better for it. I know I have a long road ahead of me and many battles to fight. But now I'm able to view life as a worthy challenger. And through this fight, I will be able to achieve everything I want. And let me tell you, I got a lot of fucking plans. I have a lot of things I want to do. My ADHD is revving right now. But I gotta finish this tarot deck first. That's the rules. Them's the rules that I made for myself that I'm going to follow. I want the end product so bad. I want this deck in my hands and I want to shuffle it and flip through it and giggle my little heart out every time I pull a card because they're silly and they're fun, and I will be so happy that I was able to finish this project. And that is the light that keeps me going. By the end of this card, I am 15% of the way through the tarot deck. 66 more cards to go, baby. And I'm not stopping anytime soon. So here are the finished cards for the week. Stay tuned for next week. Not even I know what I'll be drawing. And if you'd like to support the channel, I have a website and you can buy stuff there. And I thought it'd be a fun way to end this video with some wisdom from the garden. This is the Flower Petals Oracle deck. It's a great way to inject a little bit of positivity into your day. And they're very adorable. And the message from the flower is that you have what it takes. Thanks, flowers.